Alright guys, going to do a quick video on the new and improved Wad Splitter jigs. These all three are the VP90 models. You have the VP90 1/8, which is the most popular. This is the VP90 1/2, and then this is the VP90 combo, which basically does the same thing that both of these jigs do. Okay, the combo itself comes with the jig and a spacer, and now all the jigs are starting to come with this blade bushing. Now they don't come with a blade. You'll have to provide that, but that blade is a Stanley heavy-duty utility blade. Okay, I think they're maybe $10 for a 100 pack from Home Depot. You might can get them in fewer quantities, but I get the 100 pack. Glue it in. It's best to glue in because when you go to remove the blade bushing, if it's not glued in, there's an interference between the wad itself and the jig. Due to pressing down against it, it pushes out. If you go to lift that bushing off and it's not glued, then obviously at that point the blade and the bushing are going to separate, and it just creates more work. You have to slide the blade out, reattach, do it again. And this really helps. I really recommend gluing it in. So right now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just show you the differences that the new one has versus the old one. The old one did not have the depth stops. I have added depth stops specifically for this bushing, that when you reach the bottom, that you're hitting that depth stop and your blade is hitting the bottom of the slit at the same time. So that's going to prevent you from chewing these out. Okay, just some things I've tried to all along the way come up with different things to make this better, to make it easier, still with the straight slits with the correct depth, but last longer. Okay, so the depth stops is just one thing that I've changed. I've also made the bottoms thicker. The bases are thicker, and you also notice that it has been chamfered into these fingers. Now I've left the fingers the same thickness they were because they need to flex out. When first of all, that inside diameter there's a pretty tight tolerance between it and the wad itself. So when you take this blade and you add that and push it in, everything's pushing against that outside. So they need to flex somewhat. So again, this is the VP90 1/8. It's as simple as, now these have already been cut on that particular jig. You stick it in there and you make your cuts. We'll go ahead and do one. I've got enough to do one of both. Okay, all the rest of these have been cut. So you take your VP90 1/8, put the base down toward the bottom, drop it in, and then you just use your blade guide, line up the two holes, and you can do it with one hand, you don't have to do it with two. Do it with two fingers, press down till it stops, make sure both sides have contacted. Now, here's something that I've learned using this blade guide. There's interference right now at the bottom between the blade being pressed into the wad. It is pushing against that jig. So you're going to notice right now when you go to remove that blade guide, it's going to be kind of tight. This is where if you don't glue, your blade guide is just going to come off. You'll have to slide this out sideways, and it's just more work. So easily, here's what you can do. Take your thumb, put it on top of the jig, and all you're doing is basically just holding it down while you're taking your fingers and putting them on the outside of the jig. And just keep on doing that, and you can actually see that it separated the jig the blade from the wad itself. Now at this point, what I do is I will hold just a little bit of tension where my thumb on top of the slit and then my index finger on the other one. Okay, and then all I'm gonna do then is that's gonna hold your wad in place. See how the wad didn't come up with the blade guide itself? It stays in place. Now that keeps your pedals lined up properly. You can see they did not rotate at all. Now, what you can do next, you can see it already started to fall. It went all the way to the bottom, and it didn't twist. It fell straight down. Take your blade guide, go across to your opposite slits, press down, go all the way to the bottom, done. Same thing, this time, finger on the top. This time you don't have to worry about holding it because we're done. Okay? And you can see that, hopefully the camera picks that up well. Slits are good and straight, same depth. They're right at that little ring that you can see at the bottom of the wad, and then that's done. Okay? So we set this one to the side. That's the VP90 1/8, again, probably the most popular one. Next is the VP90 1/2. Same process, nothing really has changed. Okay? For the sake of saving this wad for showing the combo one, I'm going to leave it alone for right now. But it's the same thing, same process. Finger on top, thumb on top, 2 fingers, pull the blade guide, and again, the same cutting process for that one. Now this one, this is the VP90 combo. It does both. All right. However, it can't do both without this spacer. So it comes with a jig, a spacer, and a blade guide, the little bushing. Okay. So to cut the 1/2 slits, you don't do anything. You just drop the wad in. Okay, let it go to the bottom, and you do the same thing, same process like before. Press down till you hit your blade stops, thumb on top, lift up. Okay, at this point again, grab right there, pull, and it should hold that wad in place. You may have to wiggle it just a little bit to get it to free up. You can see the slits are still lined up with each other, the wad slits and the jig slits. Press it down, it's going to fall, you'll hear it fall. And then make your other cuts. You're going to then lift up, pull it out, and there's your 1/2 slits using the combo jig. Okay, to get the 1/8 slits, I'm not going to cut another one because I actually used the 1/8, so I'm just going to modify this one. Just drop your spacer in. And this one, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here is just put that in. And that way it makes sure that my slits are lined up with how I want them. Okay. And this would be just with a fresh wad. This would be cutting the 1/8 slits using the combo jig. Alright, press all the way down till it stops. Same thing. Thumb on top, 2 fingers on each side, lift up. When you're cutting the 1/8 slits, you're going to have more wad sticking up, and if you leave your thumb there when you pull it up, your thumb is actually going to separate that wad from the blade, so it makes, when you have to pinch these slits right there, it makes it easier because it's already freed up some. Okay, now on the other side, I'm just going to take and line it back up. And I'm just going to complete my other cuts. And on the last time you're pulling it up, you don't matter. Thumb pops it right out. You guys can see, good and straight, good depth on that. Everything looks good. Okay. Now, this is just a few things that I recommend. Number one, you can see with this blade guide, there's really no need to stick your fingers down into that hole. Okay. Because when you go in here and it's got that interference, that wad's going to want to come with that blade. It's going to want to stay with it. So, I know there was a problem. A few people had of them breaking, and I think it was from them sticking their fingers in. I don't have large hands. I probably could get away with that. Somebody with larger hands, it may cause it to break. So here again, even me, I have no need to stick my finger down in that jig. Okay, so I would recommend not doing that. But I also understand this is PLA plastic. Okay, there is a possibility that during the laminating process that it didn't work properly. When I say there's a chance, I would be surprised if 1 out of 100 had this problem. But the layers may not laminate properly, and if they don't, it could cause breaking even under normal use. If that happens, guys, just message me and we'll get you taken care of. No big deal. But I think that under proper use, these things will last quite a long time. Keep them out of the sun. I know that the PLA plastic is not very friendly with UV rays, so of course I don't really see any reason, but I would not leave these in a truck or anything like that. Keep them put up with all your supplies at home. Make sure that nothing's pushing against them. You don't want your pedals to become deformed or anything like that. But everything else, other than that, everything should be pretty straightforward. I do make a CSD model. I don't have one with me here. I kind of make those as people need them. These are probably the ones that are most highly requested. However, the CSD really has gotten more popular here lately. But if you guys have any questions or if you want one, just shoot me a PM and we'll get you taken care of. Thanks, guys.